last thing we want to clean is the brayer. And we want to use Gamsol on the brayer rather than glass cleaner, although glass cleaner is probably not horrible to do. The thing about the brayers is we don't want to dry out the rubber on them. When you're using Gamsol, right, and we have a couple of different bottles here, one that says denatured alcohol and one that's Gamsol. So we want to make sure we're using the right one. When we use Gamsol, we only want to use it under the vent hood. So that means we have to turn the vent on, okay? The vent switch is on the column. So I'll have you show them that.
Yeah.
It's just that little light switch right there. I'm going to turn on the vent and it's going to get loud. And our vents run the length of this wall. So we want to make sure that we have all the other vents closed and just this one open. Unless other people are, of course, using the vents on the other end. So the way to open and close the vent is above your head, right by the vent. When I shut it, and I put my ear underneath the vent, I can immediately tell that it's quieter here versus when I have it open. So I would do the same thing all the way down the wall and make sure all the other ones are shut while this one is open. Okay. So I'm going to start with, again, a used or a dirty rag. Right? We have these two cans. I'm going to grab one that says paint thinner on it because that's essentially what Gamsol is. I'll saturate the rag with the Gamsol. And I can even put some on the brayer itself like that. And then you're just wiping ink off of that brayer, right, onto the rag. Now we have two different types of inks. The Caligo Safe Wash ink does clean up with soap and water, so I could use soap and water on this as well. We have some spray bottles of water. And then we have the Speedball Professional Relief ink, which is also supposed to clean up with soap and water. They're a little bit different chemically. So one thing that I did was I put the Speedball ink on this brayer, and I can tell that the Gamsol is not cleaning it off very well. Where with the Caligo ink, it cleans off really, really well, really easily. So I'm really struggling to wipe it off here. So I'm going to switch, and I'm going to use a little bit of soap and water on this because that ink breaks down a little differently. So that also tells us something important. We don't want to mix the Speedball ink with the Caligo Safe Wash ink. And let's see, I'm going to put a little bit of soap on my rag. We do have a bottle, I thought, that was a mix of soap and water. But this is kind of a quick way to make sure we got plenty on there. And now I can feel it's wiping off really, really easily. Right? The Gamsol with the Caligo Safe Wash ink does a little better job. It cuts the ink a little better than soap and water does purely. But if you're working from home, you want to use just soap and water. And we want to, when we're cleaning, we want to get not just the obvious areas of the brayer itself, but we want to get the edges of the brayer, we want to get the edges of the metal, we want to get the handle, and we want to make sure no part of that has ink on it. So I've wiped off the majority of the ink off of the brayer. And so I've switched now to a cleaner rag. And I'll get the edges, the metal, and then my last step, I'll just kind of rotate that so I get the handle too. And then I'm ready to put it back on the rack. And once you've kind of cleaned up the countertop and put dirty inky rags into the cans, okay, and put everything away, you're done.